Hello, I am Luna, and welcome to Stories for Sleepless Nights. Here, we share tales of history, mythology, nature, biographies, philosophy, and many other topics. These stories are designed to help you relax and fall asleep. If there is a story you would like to hear, please let us know in the comments. Also, remember to follow us on Spotify and YouTube. Tonight, we begin the story of the Templars. This is a tale of warrior monks who rose to great power and then faced a dramatic and sudden fall. Their story is filled with courage, wealth, and mystery. Before we begin, let us take a moment to prepare for rest. Find a comfortable position. You might be lying down or sitting. Gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose, slowly filling your lungs. Hold it for a moment, then slowly release the breath through your mouth. Let all the tension go. Take another deep breath in, feeling your chest rise. Hold it, and slowly breathe out, feeling your body soften. One more time. Breathe in deeply, feeling peace enter with the air. Hold it, and breathe out slowly, letting go of any thoughts or worries. Just let your body be heavy and relaxed. Now, as you continue to breathe softly and evenly, let us begin our story. The story of the Templars truly begins after the First Crusade. This great religious war had ended in 1099, with Christian forces capturing Jerusalem. They established what was known as the Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem. But this new kingdom was like a small island in a vast sea. It was surrounded by hostile lands. Christian pilgrims, traveling from Europe to visit the holy sites, faced constant danger. They were often attacked and robbed on the roads. It was in this dangerous time that a French knight named Hugh de Payens stepped forward. He saw the suffering of the pilgrims. He decided something had to be done. Around the year 1119, Hugh de Payens gathered a small group of 8 other knights. Among them was Godfrey de Saint-Omer. These men made a solemn vow. They promised to protect pilgrims traveling to and from Jerusalem. Their beginnings were very humble. They were very poor. They owned little more than their armor and weapons. They lived simply and depended on the charity of others for food and shelter. They truly were warrior monks, but without much to their name. King Baldwin II, who ruled Jerusalem, saw their dedication and their important work. He was impressed he decided to help them. He gave them a wing of his royal palace as their headquarters. This palace stood on a site that many believed was once the location of Solomon's temple. Because they were housed near the temple, the knights became known as the Knights of the Temple, or simply the Templars. For a few years, they operated without formal recognition from the church, but their numbers grew and their reputation spread. Then, in 1129, a crucial event took place, the Council of Troyes. At this important meeting, the Knights Templar received official papal recognition from the church. They were given a formal set of rules to live by. A very influential abbot named Bernard of Clairvaux played a big part in shaping these rules. Bernard of Clairvaux was a respected religious leader. He also wrote a powerful book called In Praise of the New Knighthood. In this book, he made a strong case for the idea of warrior monks. He explained how these knights could fight holy wars and still live a devout, religious life. This helped people understand and accept the Templars. An interesting fact about their early days shows just how poor they were and how strongly they believed in their brotherhood. Their first official seal, used to stamp documents, showed two knights riding on a single horse. This image was meant to symbolize their initial poverty and the strong bond they shared as brothers in arms. After the Council of Troyes, the Knights Templar began to grow very quickly. News of their sacred mission and their strict way of life spread throughout Europe. People saw them as true holy warriors. Kings, nobles, and common folk alike gave them land, money, and young men to join their ranks. Support poured in from all corners, allowing the order to expand far beyond Jerusalem. They soon became known for their distinctive look. The Templar knights wore a white woolen mantle, a cloak, over their armor. This white color stood for purity and chastity. In 1145, Pope Eugene III granted them a special symbol, a red cross. This cross was worn over their left shoulder, close to their heart. It symbolized martyrdom, meaning they were ready to die for their faith. This simple uniform made them instantly recognizable on any battlefield. In battle, the Templars were unmatched. They were highly trained and incredibly disciplined. They were often the first to charge into the enemy lines and the last to retreat. They acted as elite shock troops, breaking enemy formations with their powerful charges. They fought bravely in many important Crusader battles. For example, in the Battle of Harim, they showed great courage. At the Battle of Montgisard, they helped secure a surprising victory against a much larger force. Their reputation for never backing down, fighting to the very last man if needed, became legendary. As their influence grew, the Templars also transformed into something unexpected, a powerful financial institution. They were more than just warriors. Kings, nobles, and even the Pope trusted them with their money. The Templars became the bankers of their time. They managed vast amounts of wealth. They developed clever ways to handle money, like keeping funds safe and transferring them. Across Europe, they built a vast network of bases called preceptories or commanderies. These were like fortified farms and administrative centers. From these places, they managed their lands, raised crops, and conducted their economic activities. These holdings made them very rich and a major economic and political power. They collected taxes, lent money, and protected valuables. Their wealth and influence became immense. They often operated like their own independent country, even beyond the control of local rulers. They answered only to the Pope. The Templars even developed an early form of international banking. A traveler could deposit a sum of money in a Templar house in London, for example. Then they could travel safely to Jerusalem and withdraw their money from another Templar house there. They would use a special document, a letter of credit, as proof. This system allowed people to move large sums of money without carrying coins, which was very dangerous at the time. It was a groundbreaking invention, much like modern checking accounts. The Templars were not just fierce warriors and clever bankers. Their daily lives were shaped by a very strict set of rules. These rules were much like those of Cistercian monks, but they were changed to fit a military order. They lived a life of deep commitment and sacrifice, always ready for battle or prayer. Every Templar took solemn vows. They promised to live in poverty, giving up personal wealth. They swore to chastity, meaning they would not marry or have romantic relationships. They pledged obedience, following the orders of their superiors without question. Most importantly, They committed their lives to defending the Holy Land and protecting pilgrims. The order had different ranks, each with its own duties. The most famous were the knights. These were noble-born men who wore the distinctive white mantle, symbolizing their purity. They were the main fighting force. Below them were the sergeants. These men were often not noble. They wore brown or black cloaks. Sergeants performed many important tasks. They fought alongside the knights, but also handled administrative duties, maintained equipment, and managed the Templar lands. Then there were the chaplains. These were priests who took care of the spiritual needs of the order. They conducted services and heard confessions. Finally, many craftsmen, blacksmiths, and servants supported the Templars, making sure the order could function. Their daily routine was very austere. The Templars rose before dawn for communal prayers. They ate simple meals together, often just bread, water, and some vegetables or meat. Silence was observed at many times, especially during meals and in certain parts of their quarters. They owned very few personal items, reflecting their vow of poverty. Everything they had belonged to the order. Their dress was very important, as mentioned before. The white mantle of the knights with the red cross was not just a uniform. It was a powerful symbol of their faith and their readiness to die for it. It set them apart from all other fighters. In battle, their code of conduct was incredibly strict. Templars were forbidden from retreating unless a specific order was given, or if they were massively outnumbered. They were expected to fight to the death if necessary, never turning their backs on the enemy. This unwavering courage made them legendary on the battlefield. There were also some lesser-known aspects of their lives. For example, Templars were generally not allowed to hunt animals just for sport. However, they could hunt if it was to provide food for the order. They were also expected to keep their hair short, but they grew long beards. This was a sign of their masculinity and their devotion to God. Given their constant travel and military life, they rarely had the chance to bathe often, which was common for the time. Their lives were harsh, disciplined, and entirely dedicated to their sacred mission. The Templars lived by a strict code, and this showed in their fighting. They were known for their bravery and their important role in many battles of the Crusader states. Their courage on the battlefield became legendary. They often led the charge, acting as the shock troops that broke enemy lines. But not every battle could be won. A terrible defeat came in 1187 at the Battle of Hattin. The Crusader forces, including many Templars, marched across a dry, hot land. Saladin's large Muslim army trapped them. The Crusaders were tired and thirsty. The Templars fought with their usual ferocity, but they were surrounded and overwhelmed. Many knights were killed or captured. The most devastating loss was the relic of the True Cross, which was carried into battle. After Hattin, Jerusalem itself fell to Saladin's forces. This was a catastrophic blow to the Crusader cause. Even after such a loss, the Templars continued to fight. They played a vital role in subsequent crusades. During the Third Crusade, they worked closely with King Richard the Lionheart of England. They helped him in his campaigns and remained a powerful force, even as the Crusader states started to weaken. Over time, the Crusader presence in the Holy Land began to fade. There was much fighting among the Christian lords themselves. Support from Europe slowly dried up. Meanwhile, the Muslim forces, first the Ayyubids and later the Mamluks, grew stronger and stronger. They slowly pushed the Crusaders back. The end of the Crusader states in the Levant arrived dramatically with the fall of Acre in 1291. Acre was the last major Christian stronghold. The Mamluk army laid siege to the city. The Templars, along with other Crusader orders, mounted a desperate defense. They fought with incredible heroism, knowing that this was likely the end. During the siege, the Templars tried a daring plan. They dug a tunnel beneath the city walls, hoping to surprise the Mamluks. This led to a fierce underground battle. But even their great courage could not save Acre. The city eventually fell, and with it, the Crusader presence in the Holy Land came to an effective end. The loss of Acre was a profound event. It marked the close of an era. The remaining Templars retreated to the island of Cyprus. There, they tried to regroup and plan new crusades to retake the Holy Land. But these plans never came to be. Their focus would soon shift, though not in the way they expected. After the fall of Acre, the the Templars found themselves on the island of Cyprus. Their dream of new crusades to reclaim the Holy Land faded with each passing year. Back in Europe, the world was changing. The great passion for crusading had cooled. Kings and rulers were now more interested in building strong nations at home. They cared less about faraway wars. In France, a powerful king named Philip IV ruled. He was often called Philip the Fair because of his good looks. But beneath this outward appearance, he was a very ambitious and often ruthless man. He was constantly at war, especially with England. These wars cost him a tremendous amount of money. His royal treasury was almost empty. King Philip found himself in deep debt. His main bankers and treasurers had been the Knights Templar. He owed them vast sums of money. This made the wealthy Templars a very attractive target for a king desperate for funds. At the same time, a feeling of resentment and suspicion began to grow around the Templars. Their immense wealth, their many lands, and their castles across Europe made them seem too powerful. People also found their secretive rituals unsettling. This secrecy, combined with their privileges, fueled many rumors. King Philip had a chief minister named Guillaume de Nogaret. He was a very clever and harsh man. Nogaret saw a way to solve the king's money problems and gain more power for the crown. He started to build a case against the Templars, using the public's existing distrust and the whispers that were already spreading. Soon, serious accusations began to circulate. These claims were often politically motivated, designed to turn public opinion against the order. People said the Templars denied Christ during their secret initiation ceremonies. They were accused of spitting on the cross and of worshipping a strange idol, sometimes called Baphomet. Other terrible accusations included immoral acts like sodomy. It was not the first time King Philip had acted against a wealthy group. He had a history of persecuting and seizing the assets of others. Before targeting the Templars, he had already expelled the Jewish communities from France and taken their property. He had also done the same to the Lombard bankers. For those watching, the Templars were simply the next powerful and rich group in his sights. The whispers and accusations against the Templars reached a terrible peak. King Philip IV was ready to make his move. He planned a dramatic and secret operation. On Friday, October 13, in the year 1307, royal officials across France moved at the same moment. They rode to every Templar house and castle. Before dawn broke, thousands of Knights Templar were arrested. They were taken from their beds, their churches, and their fields. It was a mass arrest, carried out with surprising speed and secrecy. The Templars were immediately charged with terrible crimes. The accusations were shocking. They were accused of denying Christ during their secret initiation rituals, spitting on the cross, and performing illicit kisses. They were also said to worship an idol, sometimes called Baphomet, a strange head. Other charges included immoral acts like sodomy and not believing in the sacred host during Mass. These claims were designed to shock and anger the common people and the Church. Once arrested, the Templars faced royal inquisitors. These men were loyal to King Philip. They used brutal methods to force confessions. Templars were stretched on the rack, a device that pulled their limbs apart. Their feet were slowly burned over fires. They were hung by their arms, causing terrible pain. They were starved and kept in dark, cold cells. Under such cruel torture, many Templars confessed to the crimes, even those they had not committed. They had no fair trial, no chance to defend themselves in a proper court. King Philip quickly used these forced confessions. He presented them as proof of the Templars' guilt. This allowed him to justify his actions to the world, and more importantly, to the Pope. He put immense pressure on Pope Clement V to act against the order. Pope Clement V was at first hesitant. He was a good man who knew the Templars had served the Church for many years. He did not want to condemn such a powerful and respected order without a thorough investigation. But Philip's pressure was relentless. The king even threatened to accuse the Pope of heresy if he did not cooperate. Eventually, under this great pressure, Pope Clement gave in. He issued a papal bull, a formal decree called Pastoralis Preeminentiae. This bull authorized kings across Europe to arrest Templars and investigate them. Soon after, he issued another bull, Faciens Misericordiam. This one laid out the official church inquiry into the Templars' alleged heresies. The Pope was now formally involved, though it was clear he acted with great reluctance and under the king's thumb. Many Templars, once they were moved away from the immediate threat of torture, found great courage. They bravely took back their forced confessions. They declared their innocence, stating they had only confessed to stop the pain. But this act of courage had a terrible price. These Templars were then accused of being relapsed heretics, meaning they had confessed and then gone back on their word. This was considered an even worse crime. The recantation of confessions by many Templars led to even more suffering. They were now called relapsed heretics. This was a severe charge, meaning they had confessed to heresy and then gone back on their word. This crime was often punished by death. Across France, many brave Templars were led to stakes, where they faced the flames rather than deny their innocence again. Their cries of innocence were lost in the crackle of burning wood. The trials of the Templars continued across Europe. The outcomes were not the same everywhere. In countries like England, Germany, and Aragon, rulers did not use torture as much as King Philip did in France. Because of this, many Templars in those lands were found innocent or received lighter punishments. Some were allowed to live out their days in other monasteries. But in France, the king's grip was firm, and the torture was brutal. The most dramatic moment came in March of 1314, several years after the initial arrests. Jacques de Molay, the Grand Master of the Templars, had been imprisoned this entire time. With him was Geoffrey de Charny, the preceptor of Normandy. Both men had confessed under torture, but they had also recanted before. Now, they were brought before a commission in Paris, in front of a large crowd. It was expected they would confirm their guilt for all to hear. But Jacques de Molay stood tall. He looked out at the people and spoke with a clear, strong voice. He loudly declared his innocence. He said that the order was pure and that the confessions were lies forced by pain. Geoffrey de Charny stood beside him and did the same. King Philip IV was furious. He did not wait for the commission to finish its work. That very day, or perhaps the next, Jacques de Molay and Geoffrey de Charny were taken to a small island in the Seine River, right in the heart of Paris. A large pyre of wood was built. They were tied to the stake. As the flames began to rise around them, legend says that Jacques de Molay cried out a terrible curse. he called upon Pope Clement V and King Philip IV to meet him before God's judgment within a year. And strangely, both the Pope and the King died within months of Molly's execution. Pope Clement passed away in April 1314, and King Philip died in November 1314. This sudden turn of events made the curse even more powerful in the minds of the people. Before these final executions, Pope Clement V had already made his decision about the Templar order. In 1312, 2 years earlier, he issued a papal bull called Vox in Excelsa. This decree officially dissolved the Knights Templar. The Pope stated that he was not dissolving the order because their heresy was proven beyond doubt. Instead, he did it to prevent scandal and to satisfy public opinion. It was a choice made to avoid further conflict and to protect the Church, even if it meant sacrificing the Templars. The Pope also ordered that the Templars' vast wealth and lands should be transferred to the Knights Hospitaller, another great military order. This was meant to ensure that the assets would still serve a holy purpose. However, King Philip IV had already seized a huge amount of Templar property in France. He also made the Hospitallers pay a large sum for the properties they received. Other rulers in Europe also managed to take a share of the Templars' riches. Though the order was officially ended, the story of the Templars did not disappear. Their dramatic fall, the secrecy surrounding their rituals, and the unanswered questions fed many legends. Even today, they remain a source of fascination. People link them to the Holy Grail, believing the Templars guarded its secrets. Others believe the Templars hid vast treasures before their arrests, which are still waiting to be found. Some even suggest that modern groups like the Freemasons have roots in the Templar order, while historians mostly agree that the charges against them were false, made up for money and power. The mystery of the Templars continues to capture our imagination. It is interesting to note that in some parts of Europe, the Templar legacy was not completely destroyed. In Portugal and in Castile, which is now part of Spain, some Templars and their assets were absorbed into new military orders. For example, in Portugal, the Order of Christ was formed. This new order continued to use the Templar cross, a red cross on a white background, as its symbol. In this way a part of the Templars' heritage, their fighting spirit, and their traditions lived on under a new name. These new orders even played a role in the great voyages of discovery much later. We have now come to the end of our story about the Templars, a tale of great power and a sudden, sad end. Before you drift off to sleep, let us take a moment to gently bring your awareness back to your body. Let your attention slowly move down to your feet. Feel them resting on the bed. Notice any sensations there, perhaps a slight warmth or a gentle pressure. Just observe without trying to change anything. Now, let your awareness move up your legs, past your ankles, calves, and knees. Feel your thighs relaxing, becoming heavy. Allow any tightness to soften and melt away. Bring your attention to your hips and lower back. Let them sink deeper into the surface you are resting on. Move your focus up to your stomach and chest. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your breath, slow and steady. Allow your shoulders to drop, releasing any tension they might be holding. Next, gently move your awareness down your arms, through your elbows, and into your hands. Feel your fingers resting, soft and still. Now, bring your attention to your neck and jaw. Let your jaw relax and feel your tongue resting softly in your mouth. Finally, bring your focus to your head. Feel the weight of your head on your pillow. Allow your mind to become quiet, peaceful, and still. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Stories for Sleepless Nights. We hope it helped you find rest and provided a quiet escape from your daily thoughts. Remember, Stories for Sleepless Nights is available on Spotify and YouTube. If there is a particular topic or historical figure you would like us to explore in a future story, please feel free to share your ideas in the comment box. Thank you for joining me, Luna, tonight. I hope to join you again soon for another tale. Until then, I wish you a very good night.